December 28th, 2024. Well, we're coming to the end of the year here, and so going to get run on a few issues. One thing I didn't discuss in my last video, which I think is kind of interesting to look at, is one of the other Trump efforts that's on their way or is being discussed, and people seem to be being taken it a little bit more seriously than I think they probably should be, is this whole idea of making Canada the 51st state. I mean, this is a rather bizarre idea, particularly coming from a Republican, because Canada is an entity is more left wing, I would say, than say California. And so in other words, if we were to bring in something of the size of Canada, which is at least as liberal as California, if not more so, that would tend to shift the balance in the direction of the Democrat Party in the long run. I mean, almost for sure. And so, although this could be kind of a joke or a bargaining chip idea that he's tossing around in order to have some impact on Canada, making certain agreements with them, and that's probably what Trump's up to. But the idea of Canada actually being a state is sort of on the absurd side for us to do. Now, I don't know, the Democrats might like the idea, actually, uh, which, because, I mean, after all, it would probably give them two senators, and maybe, I'm just guessing off the top of my head, I haven't done the exact calculation, 30 House seats, and that would put them in a pretty strong position. Uh, and then once they got in power, they would probably end the filibuster and make D.C. a state as well, probably Puerto Rico and maybe a few other places. And, you know, after all, I think that Obama had the idea of 57 states in one of his statements, and I don't think he was really joking. He was just letting some idea slip that he had. So remember, the whole idea of the Democrat Party is to gain total control of the country so that there'll never be an election that will remove them from power, at least anytime soon. That'd be sort of like the fall of the Soviet Union. It probably would happen someday, but most of us probably won't be around to worry about it. Well, maybe some of the younger folks, maybe in their old age or something. But so anyway, so that's why I think that's kind of interesting. Now, and the other way to look at it, there's other implications here. I mean, of course, maybe Canada wouldn't agree to be a single state. Maybe they'd want to be, well, two states or three or four states. I mean, it depends on, I mean, I guess Republicans would want at least two, so they would try to separate the more conservative areas from the more liberal areas, so they'd have a counterbalance in the Senate at least. And don't forget, there's the First Nations people there and all that. And my own opinion is this will probably never happen. Anyway, if you like these videos, please give me a like, subscribe, and click the bell for notifications, or you can follow me on your Rumble, which the address of that's in the description below. So anyway, so that's kind of the way I see this now. But there's more to it. I mean, the other question is, what will the effort of pressuring in that direction have on Canadian politics? I mean, they've heard a few Canadians thought they liked the idea. And of course, that's one possibility. But I also think that the net effect will probably be to strengthen the Trudeau wing of the country party, because I mean, let's call them the liberal wing of Canada as opposed to the conservative wing. Because let's face it, you have all these. First, you have a country that has a very socialized system and so forth. And I think most of the liberals there and most of your other First Nations people and things like that, they all those people, they don't want to give up all the benefits that are in the Canadian system. I don't think they want to, because they're used to it. And although the thought of having a lower tax would appeal to the more conservative elements in certain provinces, I suspect overall the majority would prefer to be the way they are than to be the way we are. And of course, that's another aspect of, I don't see, while there are flaws in the system that they have, they're used to it. And it's kind of like, even if you're in kind of a system that gives you a certain amount of things, you then, what do you say? Don't really want to give that up, I guess, would be what I'm trying to say. And I really doubt that would happen. And we'll see. I mean, I think that basically, from my perspective, Canada is fundamentally a liberal country because they have like three parties. There's like a liberal type party, a more liberal party, and a more conservative party. What actually happened to bring Trudeau back was that the more liberal, in other words, they quit splitting up the vote and actually all got together. And that's probably the kind of thing you probably also saw in the last British election too. And apparently there was a little bit of disdain for the situation as it was going, under the Conservatives, that with all the rotating prime ministerships and all the weird controversies they put themselves through. They were kind of doing the same thing their own house tries to do to us, I think. But anyhow, so that's kind of the way I think that this is an unworkable idea in the long run, and I don't know quite where he's at. Is he trying to undermine Trudeau and get him out of office? Is he trying to force him into some kind of an economic deal? I'm unclear about that. The main beef he's raising seems to me to be sort of a little bit off target anyhow. I mean, Canada is not a country which is known for cheap labor and manufactures things cheaply to undercut American labor and manufacturing. The balance of payments issue that he raises is largely the fact that they're a large supplier of natural resources. And so that is the real issue that we're looking at is natural resources and sort of, you have, so there's going to be a balance of payments because we're buying these resources, and oil and raw materials and so forth. I mean, all sorts of things. And now Russian uranium from Russia, I guess, is kind of going to be cut off. I guess that they'd be a supplier of uranium, for instance, for nuclear energy and things like that. So there's some real issues there on that, and so. I don't see that the situation is at all similar to what you would have in a Mexico or a China or any of the Far Eastern countries and so forth, where you have cheaper labor, and in some sense you might think that, well, if we didn't have a balance of payments deficit, we'd have more jobs here and so forth. But I don't think that's the real situation with Canada at all. And so I'm kind of like, as far as illegal immigration, they were talking about. I heard a news report on Fox, and I was looking at this, and they were talking about illegal drugs coming in from Canada. I'm thinking, net, I suspect more illegal drugs come from the United States into Canada than the other way around. I may be wrong about that, but I mean, the illegal drugs tend to start off in Mexico, or maybe they're even grown here, and then they move up there. I don't know that they're a major supplier. So that's another thing. I think this is like we're picking a fight there that's for what? Not that we, but anyhow, we'll see where he's going with this. Sometimes Trump, I think, does things just to get attention off of other topics. Perhaps maybe that's it. And I think he needs to focus more on talking to the members of the House of Representatives and see if they can get their act together. But that seems to be a more important thing at the moment, because he needs a Speaker of the House in there in order to get the votes counted, to get himself actually formally elected and inaugurated. And that's the main thing we should be focused on right now. Anyway, that's just kind of what I think about that one. On the Greenland thing, well, I guess Denmark might decide to sell it to us if we are willing to pay enough. They say they don't want to, but if we raise the price high enough, they might do it. But do we really want to put that big of a hole in the national debt to buy Greenland when we really have all the access to it we need anyhow, really? I don't know is there some base or some operation we want to conduct up there that would, be beneficial to our security? I mean, I think that's one of the things that we'll have to wait and see where he goes on that one. But, and the other issue, of course, is, well, if that would require a regular vote in the Senate, I think the Democrats would filibuster probably. I doubt that's going to happen. At any rate, that's kind of what I think about that subject. Again, I hope everybody had a nice Christmas and everything went good with everybody, their families and friends and everything. Presents or whatever were good. Hope they didn't get too tied up in the traffic snarl for those that were traveling. And well, that's about it for this one. I just wanted to kind of throw out this idea. And of course, as always, I'll be posting this on YouTube and Rumble, and the addresses of my social media accounts are in the description below. So I'll be wrapping this up one for now.